The wind howled across the frozen planet, cutting through layers of snow and silence. For centuries, no living being had survived here. The locals of nearby star systems called it the ice test. A world colder than death, where even machines stopped working, and life froze before taking its first breath. But now, something new had arrived. Something that didn't fear the cold. A group of human explorers stepped out from their landing craft, their boots sinking into the icy ground. Their leader, Captain Elias Ward, looked at the endless white horizon and exhaled slowly, watching his breath turn into a small cloud of steam. He had read the reports. Every alien species that had tried to colonize this planet before had vanished, burned out reactors, frozen armor, broken signals. None had survived more than a few hours out behind him. A young engineer named Mara Lynn checked her scanner. "Temperature is -120, she said. "No signs of energy, no signs of life. Just ice." Elias smiled faintly. "Then let's make it our home." No one answered. The crew was tired. The journey had been long, and the freezing wind felt like it was cutting through their bones. Still, they began their work. They unpacked supplies, built small shelters, and tried to get heat flowing from their power units. But the planet had other plans. Within hours, their main generator froze. Metal cracked like glass. The camp's lights flickered, then died, leaving them in the middle of a dark, frozen storm. Mara cursed softly. "It's the same pattern, Captain. The same way the others failed." Elias looked at her, his eyes calm. "Then we do what humans always do," he said. "We adapt." He ordered the team to dig into the ice instead of fighting it. They melted it using portable heat rods, shaping small tunnels and domes beneath the surface. The ice, instead of being their enemy, began to form walls around them. Within hours, they had built something no other species had imagined, a shelter made from the planet itself. Inside the first glowing igloo, heat from their breath and small heaters began to build up. The crew huddled together, drinking recycled water, watching the frost slowly turn into tiny streams that ran down the walls. It wasn't much, but it was survival. Outside, the storm roared like a living beast. The planet seemed angry, almost aware that something had broken its rule, that for the first time in history, something alive had not frozen. As night fell, Mara looked through a small ice window. "Captain," she said quietly, "what if the stories are true? What if the planet tests whoever lands here?" Elias sipped his hot drink and looked out too. "Then let it test us," he said. "We're good at tests." Hours turned into days. The humans learned fast. They used the natural insulation of ice to trap heat. They carved deeper tunnels, connecting their domes like veins under the snow. The world outside remained deadly, but inside, life pulsed like a quiet heartbeat. Then, on the fifth night, something strange happened. Mara was on watch when she saw movement, something tall, walking through the blizzard. A shadow half seen through the white storm. It wasn't human. She froze, staring as the shape came closer, glowing faintly blue. "Captain," she whispered into the radio. "There's something out there." The team gathered near the airlock, weapons ready. The creature stopped a few meters away, towering and thin, its body shimmering with frozen light. It didn't attack. It only watched. "Is it alive?" One soldier asked. Mara's scanner beeped weakly. "Barely. But it's ancient. The readings don't match any known species." The being raised a hand, slow and graceful. Its voice came through the storm, echoing like ice breaking. "You should not be here. This world kills everything." Elias stepped forward, his breath fogging the air. "We know, but we're not here to die." The alien's eyes, deep as glaciers, glowed brighter. Every species said that. None survived. Elias smiled, quiet and sure. Then you've never met humans before. The being studied him for a long moment. Then, without another word, it vanished into the storm, leaving only silence. No one slept that night. The crew sat close, the sound of the storm pressing on their walls. The ice test had spoken. It had noticed them, and as the temperature dropped lower than any recorded on Earth, the humans did something no other race had done. They kept working. They didn't panic. They didn't give up. Outside, the snowstorm screamed. Inside, humans built light. The planet was beginning to understand something new. The cold didn't kill them. It made them stronger. Morning came slowly on the ice planet, though no sun ever truly rose. The sky stayed a deep shade of blue and silver, and the endless snow reflected a cold light that made everything look like glass. Inside the human base, warmth flickered through the domes. Steam hissed from pipes, and tired faces glowed orange in the artificial light. Captain Elias Ward stood near the main heater, reading the latest data on a small wrist screen. The numbers made no sense. Temperatures outside had dropped lower than their sensors could measure, yet their igloos were still holding steady. The ice walls, somehow, were getting stronger. Mara Lynn walked in, brushing snow off her jacket. "Captain, the outside scanners are picking up something strange again," she said. "A signal. Weak, but repeating." Elias turned to her. "From the same direction as that creature." "Yes," she nodded. "About 4 kilometers north. The signal sounds like a voice." He looked around the room. The crew stared at him, nervous but curious. "Get ready," he said. "We're going to find out who's calling us." The team moved fast. They packed energy rifles, heat packs, and tracking drones. Outside, the wind screamed across the plains, throwing ice dust into their faces. They formed a line, walking slowly, their lights cutting through the white dot as they approached the coordinates. The scanners started to distort. The voice became clearer, broken words mixed with static. "You should not follow." Mara frowned. "It's warning us." Elias tightened his grip on his weapon. "Or testing us." They continued. After an hour, they found something buried in the snow, a large metallic shape, half frozen, covered with ice. It wasn't human. It looked like a crashed alien ship, old and silent. Its hull carved with symbols no one recognized. Mara wiped the frost from one panel. "Captain, these markings match the readings from the alien we saw." Elias leaned closer. "Let's get inside." Using heat cutters, they melted a small entrance through the frozen hull. Inside, the air was still and heavy. Frost clung to the walls like crystal vines. In the center of the wreck sat a dark sphere, glowing faintly blue. "It's still active," Mara whispered. "After all these years." Suddenly, the sphere pulsed. A hologram burst to life, a figure made of light and mist. It was the same being from the storm. "You were warned," it said. "You are not meant to be here." Elias took a slow step forward. "We came to survive, not to fight." The being looked around, its face calm but sad. "Your kind always says that. Then the planet changes you." Mara frowned. "What does that mean?" "The ice test," the being said. "It does not only test bodies. It tests souls. It watches who endures and who breaks. None have passed. None have stayed human." The light flickered, and the being vanished again, leaving silence behind. The team stood still for a long moment. The only sound was the hum of the heater. Finally, Elias spoke. "We're going back. But we take this sphere with us." They carried the glowing orb through the storm, its light cutting through the wind. Back at the base, they placed it inside the main dome. The temperature rose slightly, as if the planet itself was watching them now. That night, the team gathered around the sphere. They spoke quietly, their faces tired but alert. "What did it mean, the planet changes you?" Mara asked. Elias looked at the glowing orb. Maybe it means we adapt. Every species that failed here tried to conquer the cold. We didn't, we used it. Maybe that's what makes us different. The storm outside grew louder. The walls of ice groaned like a sleeping giant. Suddenly, one of the soldiers, Patel, pointed at the ice window. "Captain, look!" In the distance, several tall blue lights were rising from the snow-like towers appearing out of nowhere. They pulsed slowly, in rhythm with the orb's glow. Mara whispered, "The planet is responding to us." Elias nodded slowly. "Then it's time we respond back." He ordered the team to activate every scanner and drone. The humans began to map the lights, marking each tower's position. The pattern looked deliberate, like a message written across the frozen land, but none of them could read it yet. The night dragged on. The orb's glow filled the dome with calm blue light. Some of the crew slept, but Elias and Mara stayed awake, watching the data scroll across their screens. Then, around midnight, the orb pulsed again 3 times and a deep voice echoed through the base. "Phase 2 begins." The lights outside shifted, forming a perfect circle around the human camp. Mara stared, her voice barely a whisper. "Captain, I think we just passed the first test." Elias looked out into the storm, where the ice towers burned with strange energy. "Then we'll be ready for the next one." Outside, the planet seemed alive, watching, waiting, learning. And for the first time in countless ages, the ice test had found something that refused to die. The next day began with silence, the kind that made every breath sound too loud. The sky above the frozen planet had turned a strange pale green, and the circle of glowing towers still surrounded the human base. Captain Elias Ward stood outside the dome, his visor fogging from the cold. He stared at the horizon, watching the ice shift like it was alive. Something deep beneath the surface was moving. Inside, Mara Lynn and the others monitored the readings. The scanners picked up vibrations spreading under the camp. The temperature wasn't dropping anymore, it was rising. "Captain, we're detecting heat under the ice," Mara said through the comms. "Massive amounts of it." Elias turned toward her voice. "Heat? On this planet?" "Yes," she said, eyes wide. "It's like the planet's reacting." Suddenly, the ground shook. The ice cracked open with a deep roar, and a column of hot steam burst upward. The crew stumbled as alarms screamed inside the dome. "Evacuate to the second chamber." Elias shouted. "Seal the lower tunnels." Everyone moved fast, grabbing gear and weapons. The heat made the air shimmer, melting snow into rivers that refroze seconds later. From the cracks in the ground, glowing blue liquid began to flow, slow, heavy, and alive. "What is that?" Patel shouted, aiming his light down one of the cracks. Mara stared at the strange substance. "It's not lava. It's biological. The scanners say it's full of microscopic life forms." Elias frowned. "Then the planet isn't dead. It's alive." The realization hit them all at once. The ice test wasn't just a harsh environment. It was the planet itself. The entire world was one vast, living organism, testing anyone who dared to step on it. The blue liquid began to move faster, forming shapes, twisting columns that looked almost like arms. One of them slammed against the dome, cracking the ice wall. "Defensive shields." Elias shouted. The humans powered up energy barriers around the base. Sparks flew as the glowing ice struck the shields again and again. It wasn't attacking out of hate, it was studying them, testing how far they would go. Mara adjusted the generator controls, sweat on her forehead despite the cold. "The shields won't last long. It's draining power." Elias thought fast. "Then we change the plan. If the planet wants to test us, we show it we can adapt." He ordered everyone to redirect heat from their main power core to the lower tunnels. The ice below began to melt into deep pools. Within minutes, they had created new passages, escape routes and traps at the same time. As the glowing liquid chased them, The humans lured it downward into the tunnels. The deeper it went, the colder it became again. Steam filled the air. The living ice started to slow down, hardening, freezing itself back into silence. It worked. When the shaking stopped, everyone stood still, breathing hard. The base was cracked, steaming, but still standing. Patel laughed weakly. "Captain, you just outsmarted a planet." Elias smiled faintly. "No, we just taught it something new." Later, inside the main dome, the blue orb they had brought from the crashed ship began to glow again. The alien's voice returned, quiet but clear. "You survived Phase 2. The ice knows your strength now." Mara looked at the orb. "Why is it testing us? What does it want?" "The planet remembers," the voice said. "It remembers those who came before. It was made to find the perfect survivor, a being that could live with the cold, not against it. Every race failed. They burned, froze, or tried to destroy what they did not understand. You changed the rules." Elias stepped closer. "Then what happens next?" The orb pulsed once. "The ice will change again. It will test your hearts." The voice faded, and the orb went dark. Nobody spoke for a long time. Only the wind filled the silence. That night, Mara couldn't sleep. She stared at the flickering lights on the dome ceiling, listening to the faint creaks of ice outside. Something about the alien's last words bothered her. "Test your hearts." What did that mean? In her dreams, she saw cities buried in ice, alien faces frozen in fear, and human hands building shelters out of snow. But then she saw something else, the ice glowing red and voices whispering her name. She woke up, heart pounding. The temperature in the dome had dropped again. Frost was forming on the walls, but not from the outside. It was spreading from within. She ran to the main control room and froze. The orb was glowing again, but this time red instead of blue. "Captain," she called. "You need to see this." Elias rushed in, followed by the others. The orb pulsed brighter, and then a deep voice filled the room again. But it wasn't the same voice as before. It was colder. "Stronger. The mind has passed. Now the heart will be tested." Every screen in the room went black. The heater shut down. The ice test had entered its third phase, and this time, it wasn't testing their strength. It was testing what they would sacrifice to survive. Asterisk. The temperature inside the human base fell faster than anyone thought possible. Frost spread across the metal walls like crawling vines. The red light from the glowing orb pulsed in rhythm with the crew's heartbeats. Every pulse made the air colder. Captain Elias Ward stood in front of the orb, watching it carefully. His breath turned white as he spoke. "Whatever this phase is, it's different. It's inside our systems." Mara Lynn's fingers flew across her console. "All our heaters are offline. It's not a power failure. The control signals are jammed from within. The orb's doing this." Patel slammed a fist on the table. "Then let's destroy it." Elias shook his head. "No, if this is part of the test, destroying it might kill us all." Outside, the storm grew louder, shaking the dome. Red lightning flashed across the frozen sky, a color no one had ever seen here before. The ice planet was changing again. Hours passed. The crew wrapped themselves in thermal blankets, huddled close to small backup heaters. The cold wasn't the only thing pressing against them now. It was something heavier, something in their minds. Mara blinked hard. For a second, she thought she saw her brother standing across the room, smiling at her the way he did before he died on Mars years ago. But when she looked again, he was gone. Patel rubbed his eyes and muttered, "I just saw my old commander. But he's been dead for years." The orb glowed brighter. The whispers began. Elias clenched his jaw. "It's not real. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, it's the ice. It's trying to break us." But even he felt something heavy in his chest. A voice, soft and familiar, whispered his name. He turned and saw his wife, or what looked like her, standing in the shadows of the dome. Her eyes were calm, sad, and full of frost. "You left me," she said quietly. "You left me to die on Earth." He froze, staring. "You're not real." "Maybe not," she said. "But your guilt is." The image vanished. Elias exhaled shakily. The ice test wasn't about survival anymore. It was about emotion, regret, fear. The planet was inside their thoughts now. Mara steadied herself and began scanning the orb. "Captain, I think I understand. It's reading our memories, our emotional patterns. It's not just testing us. It's learning what makes us human." Elias nodded slowly. "Then maybe we give it what it wants, but on our terms." He told the crew to stay together. No one would face their visions alone. They formed a circle around the orb, linking their portable heaters to create a faint ring of warmth. One by one, they began to share what they saw. Mara talked about her brother. Patel spoke about losing his whole squad in a crash. Others shared moments of love, pain, and failure. The more they spoke, the more the cold seemed to weaken, as if the planet was listening. Then, something unexpected happened. The orb's red light flickered and slowly turned purple, a mix of red and blue, pain and calm. Elias looked around. "It's reacting to emotion, to connection." Mara's voice trembled. "The ice wanted to see if we'd break apart. But we didn't. We stayed human." The orb pulsed brighter. A wave of warmth spread across the dome. For the first time in days, the air no longer hurt to breathe. Outside, the storm began to fade. The red lightning turned white. The circle of glowing towers dimmed, then vanished into the snow dot. The voice from the orb returned. This time, soft and almost kind, "You faced the heart. You did not freeze inside." Elias stepped forward. "Is the test over?" "No," the voice said. "The final phase begins soon. The ice has seen your strength, your mind, and your heart. But there is one test left." The crew waited, silent. "The test of creation," the voice continued. "You survived by using what the ice gave you. Now you must build something new, not from fear, but from hope." The orb dimmed again, leaving the base in gentle blue light. The temperature slowly began to rise, stabilizing at livable levels. Elias turned to his team. "You heard it. The final phase is about building, creating something the ice has never seen." Mara smiled faintly, exhausted but alive. "Then we give this planet life back. We'll make it bloom again." Outside, through the clear ice windows, the humans could see the world stretching out, endless and white, waiting for something more. Elias looked at the horizon. "We've been tested by the cold, the mind, and the heart. Now it's time to show the ice who we really are." The team began gathering their tools, their hands trembling but steady. The last phase was coming, the moment when humans would either change the planet forever or become part of its frozen memory. As the night settled in, the planet's deep voice whispered faintly through the wind, almost like approval. "The ice remembers. But now it will also dream." The storm was finally gone. For the first time since they landed, sunlight, soft and silver, touched the frozen horizon. It wasn't warm, but it was light, and that felt like a small miracle. Captain Elias Ward stood outside the dome, boots deep in snow, watching the faint sun struggle through the clouds. His breath still formed small clouds of mist, but the air no longer felt like knives. Behind him, Mara Lynn walked out carrying a small box. Inside, a green plant rested under a transparent dome of glass, a simple seedling from Earth, protected from the freezing air. "This," she said with a faint smile, "is what we're going to build from." Elias nodded. "Then let's start." The ice test's final phase had begun, the test of creation. The crew had survived cold, fear, and even their own memories. Now the planet wanted to see if they could create something alive, something lasting. For the next several hours, the humans worked like never before. They built small chambers under the ice, lining them with heating panels made from melted scrap metal. They filled the rooms with oxygen, recycled water, and the faint hum of power. Inside one of these chambers, Mara placed the seedling. The light from their generators shimmered off the ice walls, reflecting on the small green leaf. It trembled but didn't freeze. "Temperature's holding," she whispered. "It's alive." The crew gathered around, watching the tiny plant with quiet wonder. They had seen starships burn, planets explode, and civilizations vanish. But this small spark of life in a world of death, felt more powerful than any of that dot outside. The blue orb that had tested them glowed faintly again. Its voice echoed softly through the room. "You are building warmth in the place of eternal cold. This has never been done." Elias looked toward it. "That's what humans do. We build where others break." The orb's light pulsed gently, almost like approval. For the first time, the planet didn't fight back. The ground stopped shaking. The snow fell lightly, almost peacefully. The air grew clearer. Days passed. The humans expanded their network of igloos and tunnels, creating small green chambers under the ice. In each, a few plants grew, algae, moss, and earth seeds brought for testing. Slowly, the ice around those chambers began to change color, glowing faintly green from within. Mara's voice trembled with excitement. "Captain, the ice is reacting to the plants. It's absorbing the oxygen and stabilizing it. The structure is growing stronger." Elias smiled for the first time in weeks. The ice isn't killing anymore. It's learning. But their peace didn't last long. One night while everyone slept, the base trembled again. The ground cracked, and deep below, something ancient moved. Mara ran to the control room. "Captain, there's massive activity under us. The planet's core is shifting." Elias frowned, eyes narrowing. "Is it attacking?" "I don't think so," she said. "It's evolving." The orb began to glow brighter than ever before, flooding the dome with blinding light. The crew shielded their eyes as a deep, calm voice filled the air. Not one, but many voices at once. "We see your fire. We feel your breath. You gave the ice what it never had, life." The ground cracked open outside, revealing rivers of glowing blue light spreading in every direction like veins. The energy was not violent this time, it was warm. The entire planet seemed to be awakening. Patel stared in awe. "It's changing the whole surface. Look, it's thawing." Steam rose across the plains as layers of frost melted for the first time in ages. Beneath the ice, there was stone, metal, and something shining, ancient ruins from those who had failed before. Mara watched the sight with wide eyes. Maybe the ice wasn't a curse. Maybe it was protection, waiting for someone to wake it up. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "And we did." The orb floated upward, pulsing gently. "You have passed the test of creation. The ice will remember the warmth of your kind." Then, something strange happened. The orb began to break apart, not violently, but gracefully, releasing small fragments of glowing light that drifted through the air like snowflakes. Each one settled into the ice, melting into it. "The ice test ends," the voice said. "But the story of humans begins here." Elias looked out at the endless horizon. The world that had once been death itself now shimmered with color. Blue, green, and white dancing together. He turned to his crew. "We came to survive," he said quietly. "But we did more. We made this world live again." Mara smiled, tears freezing on her cheeks. "Captain, I think the planet's breathing." All around them, the wind changed tone, softer, almost musical. It no longer screamed. It sang, The humans stood in silence, watching the ice world awaken, knowing the final test still might not be over. But deep inside, something had shifted forever. They had turned cold into survival. And survival into creation. The ice planet was no longer their enemy. It was becoming their home. The world was no longer silent. Winds that once screamed in anger now hummed softly across the icy plains. Light, real light, filtered through the thin clouds, touching the silver-blue surface of the planet with warmth. The humans had done what no other species could. They had turned the ice into life. But deep beneath the frozen ground, something ancient was still stirring. Captain Elias Ward stood outside the main dome, his visor up, feeling the gentle cold on his skin. It no longer hurt. The air, once toxic, had changed, thinner, lighter, almost breathable. His breath still fogged, but faintly. Behind him, Mara Lin and Dr. Patel worked on the sensors, watching strange readings blink across the screen. "Captain," Patel said, voice filled with awe, "the planet's core is stabilizing. The energy spikes are gone. It's like the whole world is syncing with our systems." Elias frowned softly. "Or learning from us." The small green plant that had started it all now stood almost a foot tall. Its roots glowed faintly blue, drawing strength from the ice itself. The fusion of human warmth and alien frost had created something new, something never seen before. Then, suddenly, the orb, the mysterious voice of the ice, appeared again. But this time, it wasn't just a light dot. It formed into a shape. A being made of mist and crystal, its body transparent, its eyes like twin stars. It hovered above the ground, gazing at Elias and his crew with quiet understanding. "You have done what none before you could," it said. Its voice carried both warmth and sorrow. "You changed the nature of this world. You gave it life. And choice." Elias took a step forward. "Choice?" The being's light pulsed gently. "The ice has always tested those who landed here. It offered death to the unworthy, silence to the proud, and peace to the brave. But never before has anyone given something back." Mara looked up, eyes wide. "So, what happens now?" The being paused. "Now the world must decide, remain as ice, or become what you've shown it can be." The ground began to tremble again, not with violence, but with deep energy, like a heartbeat. The sky flickered with bands of light, green, blue, and silver, weaving together in a cosmic dance. The temperature rose slightly, enough for frost to melt from the domes. The humans watched in silent awe as the planet made its choice. Then, everything stopped. The trembling ceased. The wind fell silent. The being looked down at them one last time. "The ice remembers the fire you brought. You will stay, and the world will grow with you." The light spread outward, covering the land for miles, melting and reshaping everything it touched. What was once endless frost began to shimmer with streams of liquid water. Small patches of blue moss appeared on the rocks. Steam curled upward like the breath of a living creature. Mara whispered, "It's alive." Patel nodded, eyes shining. "We didn't conquer the planet. We healed it." The being's form began to dissolve, its light merging into the air, the ground, and the water. Before vanishing completely, it spoke again, softly, almost like a memory. "Tell your kind. The ice remembers." And then it was gone. Silence filled the dome, but it wasn't empty anymore. It was the silence of life beginning. Days passed, then weeks. The humans adapted quickly. They built green tunnels, melted lakes, and created breathable zones. Their technology blended with the planet's energy, forming a strange harmony. The world no longer rejected them. It worked with them. Elias kept a journal, the first human record written on the ice planet. He wrote about the tests, the fear, the loss, and the miracle. He wrote that humans didn't survive because they were the strongest. They survived because they learned, shared, and gave warmth where none existed. One evening, as the pale sun dipped behind the icy hills, Elias stood outside with Mara. The air shimmered faintly, and for a moment it felt almost like spring. Mara smiled, her breath misting softly. "Do you think anyone will believe us?" Elias chuckled. "Maybe not. But one day, when someone finds this place, they'll see what we built." She looked up at the glowing sky. "And maybe they'll call it by our name." Elias nodded. "No, they'll call it what it truly is, the world that remembered humans." As darkness settled, the ice around their base pulsed faintly with blue light, rhythmic like a heartbeat. The planet was alive now, and it was breathing in sync with them. The humans had not just passed the ice test, they had rewritten it, and somewhere in the quiet stars above, the universe watched, finally understanding what made humans different. Not strength, not power, but the simple, stubborn fire inside them that refused to die, even in the coldest place in creation.